See if we can have a little fun with them.
Is this your idea of fun, man?
Greetings.
Watch the birdie.
Jeez, I cracked myself up.
Recently, Brain Drain posted a video of a quadcopter running 6-inch props with 1407 motors, and it looked awesome, so I thought I need to try it. So which frame do you start with? Well, I'm starting with this KingKong Swift 165. It looks a lot like this one. So here it is, and of course, it's designed by none other than HK Thunder himself. So here's all the parts that come in this kit. Now this is available as an almost ready to fly quadcopter, but in that one you get 1306 motors, a 3100 kV, 400 milliwatt transmitter, and some other stuff. But here's the instructions that came with this one. And if you look here on the front, it gives you a little bit of assembly information. But here it talks about this NZ32 flight board. Now I've never seen this before, but this is what comes in the almost ready to fly kit. This one, the kit that I have, it doesn't have any parts with it. So it looks like this. This is the 135 pieces, and it comes with 4 blade props if you get the 135 apparently. But I have the 165, and it comes with the 2 blade props. And here they are. You get 10 pairs. There's 10 forwards and 10 backwards. And the almost ready to fly kit, I believe it comes with the 3-inch props. But also included in here, it has the carbon fiber pieces, some Swift FPV drone stickers that you can stick all over your frame if you want to. And it comes with 3 different fairings like this. And this looks a lot like the Anakin from the Sky-Hero. In fact, I'll show you a comparison of those. Also comes with a red and yellow one that are also included. So let me get this thing set up a little bit closer, and we'll take a little closer look at it and get some measurements. So here are all the pieces that come in a little goodies bag. You got some rubber bands here, including a big one, which I'm not really sure what that's for yet. Some spacers, and these are all using M2.5 millimeters, so they're going to be a little bit small, but that's fine for the small frame like this. Has these little plastic pieces that separate the 2 frames, and they have different colors to match the different colors of fairing. And then it also comes with this little XT30 connector here, a couple pieces of wire, and some double-sided stick tape, probably to hold this power distribution board down. Now, power distribution board has a, let's see if it'll focus, 5-volt output up here and a 12-volt. And the same thing on this side here, it has a 12-volt and a 5-volt output. So you have plenty of power coming off this, so you can power your flight board off the 5-volt and your camera and your video transmitter off the 12 volts if you wanted to. So here's the power distribution board out of the package. I'm gonna get some measurements off this real quick. Looks like it's about 22 millimeters wide and 32, maybe 32 and a half millimeters long. I think I have a flight board like this. We'll see. So this is the main plate of the Swift 165. It has 4 holes here, and you'd think, oh, maybe that's where the flight board goes. No, that's where the spacers go. Now, out here on the edges, they have these little grooves that are cut out here on the side, and this is because they want you to run the wires out this way and down around the bottom of the frame, and then have your ESCs mounted to the underside of the frame. That way, they look pretty, and you don't have them sitting up here on top. Now, this main plate here, this main plate is about 2.4 millimeters thick. I'll go ahead and measure it one more place just to see what the difference is. 2.41 millimeters. So there's not a lot of thickness to this, but it should be fine with the smaller size motors. We'll see eventually when I get it built. But let me go ahead and get some more of this put together. So here it is fully assembled with the fairing on top here. Now the rubber band goes on here, and it's a little bit weird because this little piece down here is screwed in now, so the rubber band kind of goes around this and up over the top. But either way, it went on fine. Down here on the bottom, the plastic kind of pushes through the carbon fiber, and then the screw goes right into the plastic. So it's not like it has a real good place to mount that, but I think it'll be fine. Really, what this really is just doing is adding a little bit of strength to this back end, so that in a crash it won't, crash quite as badly and break quite as easily. Now up here in the front, I don't know if you noticed it before, but these are a little bit wider and these are a little bit more narrow. These two are the same. This one's a little bit more narrow, but I think that's there to prevent batteries from going in and slipping up into the front and then pushing into your camera that's up here in the front. Now this is a 3-cell, what is this? It's a 450. 3-cell 450, and it fits in here just fine. Now it does have a tendency to kind of wiggle around a little bit because it's not perfectly fit in there. You can see there's a lot of room up above. Now here's a 3-cell 1 milliamp hour, and it has a hard time fitting down between these two plastic pieces here. Now without the plastic pieces there, I was actually able to slide it in, and it pushed right up to the front pillars and just sat there. But with these things in here, it's too narrow for this battery to fit in there. Now I think, let's see how big a battery can actually fit in here. And so on here, the actual dimensions between these two white pieces here is 27.7. So if you have a 28, it's going to be really, really tight. And between these two poles here in the front, this comes up to be about 34. So if you have a little bit longer battery, it should be fine as long as it, you know, doesn't extend out past the back of this, which would be another, what's that, another 38 or 40 millimeters. So you can actually have a pretty long battery. But the biggest problem is going to be fitting between these two posts here. Let's get it real quick on this, how tall this is. It's about 20 millimeters tall of space. So 20 by, what I say, 27 and a half. 20 by 27 and a half is about the biggest battery that you can fit down inside here. Now in the instructions, they actually had this power distribution board sitting down on the lower plate, which I don't understand how you would actually do that, because then that kind of messes up where your battery sits. You don't really want your battery sitting on top of all these components and squishing these into your battery, putting dings in them. So they'd probably really have to go up on top. And having all the components in here is going to be a little bit tight of a fit. But if you've been flying 130s or built a 130, you're going to be familiar with the idea of tight fit components. So here I'll go ahead and pull the fairing off of this. And if we look at this, the camera angle is not real dramatic. It's about maybe 15 or 20 degrees. So you're gonna have to have a pretty wide angle field of view if you're gonna plan on, you know, flying fast, like with an angle, with a, you know, a pretty big angle on your quadcopter, which that's kind of what I'm trying to do with this by using the 1407 motors. But this camera angle, the camera mount here itself is actually grooved in between these top plates. It kind of sticks up a little bit here and then sits under the top plate over here on the side. And then down on the bottom, it kind of just pushes through the bottom plate and hold itself in there. So there's not any real good way to angle your camera inside here if you're going to use this mount. That's kind of what you're stuck with. You're going to have to do some kind of fancy thing where you mount it down here to the bottom plate if you want to do, you know, your own camera angle, but your own camera mount. But it's going to have to be kind of small because there's not a lot of room in here. So I was thinking about another Diatone USA type of camera angle where you mount on the bottom and then the top is just on a pivot. But the only problem with that would be that once you put this fairing back on, you kind of, if your camera's sitting back here, you're going to see a lot of fairing up in the picture itself, which is not really, you know, ideal. You know, you want it to stick up here out a little bit, but you don't really want to cut any of this off, because then you kind of lose the whole point of buying this kind of frame with the built-in fairing on it. But, you know, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how it comes out and what I come up with when I actually build it out. So here's the back of the quadcopter, and this is the included 4-inch prop that they provided. Now that you can see here, it spins past this fairing okay, and it doesn't actually touch anything, which is good, but it's not actually going to be at that level. It's going to be raised up a little bit because of the height of the motor. So you should be clearing a little bit more of that, which is good. Now the only downside is, of course, you know, you have this arm here that takes a little bit of the wind out of the props and slows you down, but nothing you can do about that. Up here in the front, it's a little bit different story. If I center this over the hole, you can see it's actually it's going to have to, you know, go through the fairing. But again, we're going to raise it up a little bit because of the motor, and so it should be able to clear over the top of this frame with no problem. The only downside is everything that's under the prop is actually slowing the wind down on the prop, so you're actually losing a little bit of thrust by having this thing overlap. But the only way you could get away with this is maybe have this out a little bit wider, and so you don't have any overlap on this, but then you kind of lose the look of this and it becomes a little bit more wide in the front than it is in the rear. So this is an Eachine 2204 motor. Now this is 04, so it's going to be a little bit shorter than the 1407 motors I ordered. But if we put this on here, you can see how much height it actually adds to the propeller. So it is going to clear everything just fine. It's just going to be, you know, it's not really the best design to have this go over top of the fairing like that. But it is nice and smooth, so hopefully that wind will just blow right around it. Here I have the propellers lined up over the front and rear motor holes, well, close anyway. And you can see they're not going to be tapping past each other or touching each other when they spin past each other, so it should be fine front to back. So here I have the frame with no power distribution board. or anything, other electronics on it. I just have the rubber band on here. If I go ahead and I weigh this, it comes in about 45 grams. So it's actually a pretty light frame for being able to run 4-inch props. If it was running 3-inch props, this would be fair to, you know, mediocre on the weight, but for 4-inch props, this should be pretty light. I'll go ahead and measure the arm distances here, and if I center that over the hole and come over here, you can see it's supposed to be 165, and it comes out to be about, 165, maybe 166 at the worst. But yeah, pretty close. I've shown this in other videos before, but just to show you the comparison, on the left here is an XT60 and the right is the XT30. So there's a lot of size difference between these two. One other really good thing about this frame is that this plastic fairing is going to protect all your electronics when you crash. The only thing outside of it are going to be your motors and your props, and hopefully those will just take most of the, or hopefully the props will take most of the abuse and your motors will be fine. The worst I think could happen would be that you break your rubber bands, so you might want to take a couple extra of those with you when you go to the flying field, or maybe just put 2 on to begin with. That way, hopefully it doesn't break both of them. But even your battery will be inside the housing here, so that it should have plenty of protection in the event of a crash as well. At the beginning, I mentioned that this quadcopter looked like it had been modeled after one of Sky-Hero's frames. So, look at this. This is the Sky-Hero Anakin Club Racer. Now, if these guys aren't clones of each other, they are very close cousins. And this one, I'm sure took a lot of design preferences from this Sky-Hero Anakin Club Racer. Now, the Anakin's a little bit different. It has one plate up here on the top, and the rear arms are one piece, and the front arms are another piece. And they used metal here to, oh, sorry, those are plastic. Plastic, the spacers here, but they have 3 spacers on each side. They're also using big, heavy spacers in there instead of little weak, thin things. So, yeah, is this a clone? Oh my gosh. I mean, I don't know how 2 people could come up with the same idea. So, I would say yes, or at least very, very strongly inspired. So I'm looking forward to trying the 1107 motors, just because I've never tried any of those before. Now the ones I ordered are only rated up to 3-cell, but I'm going to be running 4-cell through them and we'll see what happens. Hopefully they don't burn up. The 1306 motors seem to do fair on 4-cell, but they always come down real hot. So I'm hoping the 1407 motors are not quite as bad. Anyway, this is the Swift 165. I got this from Banggood. If you have any questions about it, feel free to leave them in the comments. If you want to tell me how much it looks like the Anakin Club Racer, well, I agree with you completely. Anyway, questions, leave in the comments. I'll try to help you out as best I can. And as always, thanks for watching.